Good evening.
Good evening.
And welcome to our July 8th Bloomington Human Relations Commission. It is 5 p.m. and we will officially open and begin our commission meeting. We will start with our roll call. Commissioner Kai Ajay,
Present.
Commissioner Gary McGinnis, Commissioner Suresh Krishna,
Present.
Commissioner Anthony Jones,
Present.
Commissioner Korean Kunam, Commissioner Carey, and Commissioner Rhonda Smith, present. Okay, thank you, commissioners, for being present. We will move on to the next agenda item, item number 2, which is public comment. Do we have anyone live on the stream with us with comments? Okay, hearing no comments, we will move forward with our next agenda item, approval of the June meeting minutes. I have one item on the roll call. I do not see Commissioner Ajay's name as being present.
He's present.
For the June meeting minutes.
I'm sorry. I'll make that correction.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone else have any other input or corrections?
None for me.
None here.
None from me also.
Okay, then I will need a motion from a commissioner to accept the minutes with the update.
I make a motion for approval of the June meeting minutes with the noted update.
I second it.
Thank you. So it has been, a motion has been put forth to approve the June meeting minutes with the noted update to present and properly seconded by Commissioner Krishna. Is there any discussion further? If not, I will call for the vote. Commissioner Krishna?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Ajay?
Aye.
And Commissioner Smith? Aye. Thank you, commissioners. We'll move forward to agenda item number 4, review of Not in Our Town, Camden, New Jersey film project, which the Human Relations Commission sponsored and participated in. I will ask if everyone here tonight had an opportunity to review or to see the film.
I had an opportunity to view it.
Or should I say, if you had any thoughts on, or have any thoughts you'd like to share regarding any conversation you may have heard or read regarding that event?
I can just share my a few tidbits about my experience from attending the event. What I found most of value from was the small breakout sessions in which the group I had talked about a lot of the local items of concern in the community. And it's my understanding they're going to compile all of those discussions from all of the small groups and at some point share those out with at some point in time there. So that's something I look forward to. But the film itself was a catalyst for discussion, but the small groups is what I found value in to kind of get more focus on localized concerns. As well as I was part of a very diverse group, so it was good to also have the opportunity to hear the thoughts of others.
Okay. And I would echo what Commissioner Jones has shared. He and I both participated in the event that night, and we were into different small group discussions. And the rallying cry from my group was that there needed to be some type of review of the current police structure and funding. Not sure what that is, but definitely a change needs to be made. So, and they did say that all of the notes would be put together, and unsure what would be the outcome of all of that information after it is captured and memorialized, and how it would move forward. So, Mr. Hurt, did you get anything from Not in Our Town saying that there was a financial cost or financial element to being a sponsor for this?
No, I've received nothing from NIOT.
Okay. Okay.
This is
Questions,
Commissioner-
thoughts, anyone else? Any of the other commissioners?
This is Commissioner Jai. My understanding from Mike Matika was there was no cost involved in being a sponsor. They just wanted our logo and for someone to attend the event. So there will be no cost coming from NIOT.
Okay, great. So then there were two of us there, and so they did have a good participation that night. So, okay. If there's no additional conversation around that item, I think you can still see the film if there's interest, and would encourage members of the commission to engage in things of this nature. Again, this is why the commission exists. So, moving on to agenda item 4B, overview of the new local online business directory.
Good. And I'm going to share my screen if I find the right one. Stop sharing, share again. Had it set up here. Yeah, so I'm just going to talk for a second as I'm navigating to, okay, here it is. Oh, okay. Share. Okay, first of all, I want to confirm, can you see a screen that says City of Bloomington? Looks like an old website.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you're familiar with, there's a website called Wayback Machine. So you can go back in a point in time to review a website as it existed at that point. This is, I located the website for the City of Bloomington Human Relations Commission for 2011. And the reason I did that is because I want to share with you what we had at one point in time so far as a minority business directory. This is something that there was a paper copy distributed And basically, to make it online, what was done was a PDF was provided for this. So this is just kind of like what we had at one point in time. Over time, the information got out of date, and we basically thought we had stopped sharing it with the public. One thing that we did learn recently, that there was a link to Minority Business Directory on the current website. However, there was nothing on it. It was a broken link. Fast forward to what I'm going to share with you today is a copy of a new Minority Business Directory, just from a timing standpoint, something that I had put together as far as the mechanics, but had never pushed a button on it. And I did activate it when Mr. Hurt was contacted by someone looking for the link on the City of Bloomington's website. So that's just kind of a quick background. I'm pretty sure you have questions. I was just going to give you a quick navigation of it. The URL for this is minoritybiz, directory.org. And this is set up as a self-service. I clicked on, okay, self-service type of directory. And what I mean by self-service is that individuals can add their own information. So it's not something that they have to send an email or contact Mr. Hurt or anything. They can actually go on and add their own information. And this is very automated also, in that to help keep information up to date, once a year, it's going to automatically send an email to those individuals that have added entries to review their information, to refresh it. So basically, they're required to renew every year. Otherwise, it'll be marked as, I think it's marked as unrenewed or something like that. But it's an automated mechanism to keep the information fresh. I'm just kind of going through this quickly because I'll give you all the URLs so you can browse at your leisure. For individuals that want to add a listing, they'll basically click on create a listing, and then they'll just add the information. They can add graphics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So in a nutshell, this is the current directory that we have available, and it has a companion link to it as well, where individuals can add their own community events as well. And that is also self-service. I just added just some Christmas. That was the only thing I added on there. But so that is the Minority Business Directory, and it became active probably, it was the week after, I forgot when, maybe about 4 weeks ago. But I just wanted to share that with you to give you an overview of that. And this also connects to another item that Mr. Hurt has on the agenda. That proposal came through before the existence of this directory. So just wanted to give you that background information, as well as kind of like a little guided tour of it.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Questions from the commissioners regarding this tool?
Is the recommendation that this be endorsed in some way by the commission, or are we just going to provide it as a link that's available out in the community?
My thought was that to be as a link available to the community. It's listed as the link that's on the website, the city's website currently. So that filled the gap in which individuals were contacting the city asking about the directory. Small business, what is it? The Small Business Alliance. They also have a link to this as well. And this is something that's intended for Bloomington Normal in regards to area.
So again, I guess the heart of my question is, this will not be branded as a Human Relations Commission product, but rather as a service we're providing to the community to give them this link that has been created. And I guess is going to be maintained by you, Commissioner Jones, just so that people have a place to go to find minority businesses.
Yeah, I agree with what you just stated, unless there's a desire for some city branding, but in essence, it's a resource that that is out there for the community to be made available via links such as through the Human Relations Commission, the SBA, etc.
So,
My final comment would be my only concern about this very well put together offering is the self-service piece, because there's no mechanism, as far as I can tell, to confirm that this is indeed or these businesses are indeed minority owned or minority run. I'm not sure how we're defining that. Just looking through real quick, I saw a link to Rogers and Holland's Jewelers, for example. And to the best of my knowledge, that's not a Black owned enterprise. We may have a Black manager of the facility, but anyway, that's my concern.
Yep. And I left out a piece of information. When I said automatic, they can add their own information, but as an administrator, it goes into pending. So it's not published until I go through and take a look at it and then actually publish it. Yeah, that jewelry store one, that was one in which when entries were first made, that was one that had my attention. So I went ahead and published that, but I wanted to do conversations such as this in regards to thoughts, in regards to, say, for instance, someone is an African-American, but they're a salesperson at a car dealership. My initial thought was that would exclude them because, you know, that's not the nature of the directory. So I just wanted to kind of get additional thoughts from the commission on that particular type of scenario.
so Commissioner Jones, wonderful tool. Couple questions. When this directory existed back in a decade ago, whenever, was this under the hub of the Human Relations Commission?
It was. It had on the label on it, Bloomington Human Relations Commission at that point in time.
Okay.
When it was a paper book.
Okay. So if we're resurrecting it, and I guess I want to circle back to Commissioner Ajayi so that I can get clarification. Is it being resurrected under the Human Relations Commission, or did you resurrect it just as a tool for use in the community, and you as Tony Jones will keep the heartbeat going as a link on the city of Bloomington? Can you help me understand? Is it, are you proposing it be affiliated and resurrected under the Human Relations Commission and a motion is made? Or are you just making us aware that you have brought it back to life and the link is established on the city of Bloomington site?
Multiple pieces to that. One, making you aware that this has been reactivated. Two, it is so self-service that if there's an appetite for the city of Bloomington, they can take this over as ownership. So, you know, it's not something that I have to have in my possession. It's just I'm the person that created it. And then when the previous directory was put online, I was the person that handled that particular piece of it, making it available online versus the print. So if there's a appetite for this to be like a branded Human Relations Commission tool, that's definitely, I'm open to that totally. And then also just from awareness, from an overhead or maintenance standpoint, it's set up so very self-service that it wouldn't really require any additional skill sets or anything like that. So whatever is desire of my fellow commissioners and Mr. Hurt, community relations manager.
Any thoughts from you, Mr. Hurt? And then we'll need,
Yeah, it was my hope that the directory would be under the auspices of the Human Relations Commission, as it had been in the past. And reason being, it would be someplace that I could refer the city's procurement manager when we go out for bids and they claim they can't find any minority, female-owned businesses, et cetera. I could just direct them to this website.
so with that being said, how often would this website need to be scrubbed to ensure that the data is accurate? That, because it's self-service, I could put myself on there and not be a minority. And if directing someone there and they go there and they think that I'm a minority and they contact me. So I guess I'm directing that question to you, Commissioner Jones.
Yeah, so when someone is initially signed up, and this is an example, this is a real estate agent, should have put on preview, they're not in this community, so they're still pending. They're in Florida, so that's part of the initial screening. So they're impending, they're not published because they did not meet the criteria that we're wanting. Once a year, an email is going to be sent automatically by this tool to send to each of these individuals to tell them to renew their entry. And what happens is can be set up by the system. The system can remove it or just put it in a not renewed status. There's a lot of different options, but it's basically designed to keep things fresh. So it could be set up for once a year, twice a year, every 6 months, etc. So that takes away the need to scrub once something is there to make sure that the information, you haven't moved away, they have a different contact information. So that automates that piece that why the first one became obsolete.
Okay.
Along those same lines, we have another agenda item coming up in a second, the draft Bloomington Ordinance. That ordinance has a definition of a minority business enterprise, i.e. that it be 51% owned by or more by a minority person or 51% of the stock, et cetera, et cetera. So part of, if Mr. Hurd's vision is to be able to direct the city when it's looking for businesses to comply with the minority hiring requirements, if the pointing is going to be to this document, then there has to be a level of scrutiny to ensure that the companies that are listed in this document actually meet the criteria set by the draft ordinance.
Yeah, so that definitely can be accommodated first off by utilizing a, what do you call the process? An attestment process. You know, it's kind of like I attest, da, 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 da. If I provide false information, I will be removed. But that also provides opportunity for those that needs to go through whatever that verification process to occur. So things can be customized based upon whatever the needs are for Mr. Hurt. I was just looking at another example, went to my hometown, but they have like a little, like it's the MBE or something like that, where they actually provide that as confirmation that this is indeed a business, minority business that they've validated. So that's something else that can be on the directory too. Validated businesses, so they will have this designation of MBE. So that basically indicates that they've met the city criteria so far as being quote unquote validated. So, you know, there might be some on there that might, due to the nature of the organization, they might not have a need to be a MBE certification, but we can provide that type of setup for something like this.
You said MBE?
Yeah, so on this, what I'm sharing here, they call it Minority Business Enterprise, or it stands for something along those lines, but it's a certification that that verify that they met the qualifications.
Mr. Hurd, would an attestation suffice, or would we need some form of licensing or certification?
There is a federal designation, kind of like an ID card that they could provide, or we could create our own and ask for certain certifications and identifiers that we can accept to verify that they are a minority or women-owned business. We have those for the city of Peoria. Similar form we could put out there. And they provide us with the documents that we asked for, and we can accept that as acceptable vetting.
Okay.
Yeah. On this particular example in Richmond, where my cursor is, they have obtained MBD registration form or the certification form. So it's provided right there. They can request. Of course, we will do ours online versus mailing in a form, but all of that can be just self-contained to handle whatever is necessary.
Okay. And I'll definitely work with you on that.
Okay.
Other questions?
Okay.
Otherwise, we will need a motion, or the idea will just lay there.
A motion in what regard? I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Jones.
I was about to say, I make the motion that the new online minority business directory become an item that's under the umbrella of the Human Relations Commission, and that we move forward with customizing it to accommodate the needs of the community relations managers. That's your title, Mr. Hurt?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
So can I want to take my chairperson hat off when we say that it meets the needs of community relations manager. Are we saying that it will be in alignment with the ordinance that we are putting in place to define what minority is?
Yes.
I want to ensure that motion is stating that.
An addendum to my motion. Well, I think that's covered by the statement of meeting Mr. Hurt's needs so far as the customization.
I just want to ensure that is clear. We're live, so I want to make sure that is specifically what that motion covers that.
Correct.
Are we in sync with that, Mr. Hurt?
Yes, as long as we probably tweak the language a bit to say that as long as the participants or the individuals who register on the website meet the minority business disenfranchised requirements of our pending ordinance proposal.
All right. And Commissioner Jai, did you second that motion?
I did indeed.
Okay, so you're comfortable with that. Okay, thank you, commissioners. Is there any additional discussion on this? If not, then it's been properly motioned and second that the link for the minority business directory that has been reactivated will be aligned to the Bloomington Human Relations Commission with some additional information attached to it to ensure that anyone registered on the directory will meet the definition of minority within the ordinance that is coming forth from the Human Relations Commission. So I will call for the vote. Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Christie,
Aye.
Commissioner Ajay,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith, aye. Mr. Hurt, we have, since everyone said aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you, commissioners, for that healthy discussion. Thank you, Commissioner Jones, for getting that link activated and for making it such a user-friendly tool. Few more steps to implement on it, and I think it will be in really good shape. Okay, we will move on to old business, fair housing training. We had asked Mr. Hurt if he could reach out to Prairie State Legal to see if they would be available for providing us with training, online training of some sort. I will hand it over to you, Mr. Hurt, to see if you have received any response from them.
Yes, I have. I spoke with Emily Petrie from Prairie State Legal Services, and she has agreed to provide the online training at our next commission meeting if we're all available. So that will be August 12th at 5 o'clock. She said the training is probably about an hour and a half long. And it will be done virtually.
Thoughts, feedback, comments, commissioners?
90 minutes seems quite long, number one, and I don't know how that gels with this concern. I recall seeing an email regarding time slots for meetings and overlap and all that type of stuff. But my largest concern is 90 minutes seems excessive.
The 90 minutes was just the time we reserved in order to include a question and answer period. So it may not necessarily be 90 minutes, but we reserve 90 minutes.
Understood. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Additionally, she will host the meeting on Prairie State Legal Services site using their IT, because at the same time we're having our meeting, the Planning Commission will be using this service from the city. So it won't be available to us.
So
Prairie State will be providing their system for us to use.
okay, so their platform. Okay.
Will we still be able to comply with the Open Meetings Act, or is this a training which is separate from the meeting? Or
Since we're not discussing any business, well, I think we're all right. It's a training.
Okay, so the goal is to encourage as many commissioners to be available as possible at our August meeting. Thank you, Commissioner Hurt, for following up on that for the fair housing training.
I think I just got promoted.
Commissioner training, 5B.
I do want to get our commissioner training in. My thought is to create a webinar and just put it out there on the city's website so that the commissioners at their own leisure could just go ahead and view that. And then if you have any questions, we can discuss it at our next meeting or September meeting, or however we choose to do that.
I like the webinar style training. Commissioners, your thoughts on that?
I agree. That's a lot of flexibility. So definitely it's very appealing to me.
Yeah, I agree with Tony's comments.
As do I.
Oh, Commissioner Krishna, why didn't you say you agree with my comment?
Which was
kidding.
chairperson's comments.
Just kidding with you. I'm only kidding. Okay, well, we like that idea,
Okay.
Hurt. So if you can move forward with that and bring it to fruition, we would greatly appreciate that, Commissioner training and having it available as a webinar so that we can access it at our own leisure and flexibility. So thank you. You've been busy.
I have to earn my $5.
Yeah, busier than usual. 5C, we're going to leave it in your hands to keep talking.
Well, we talked about securing a speaker for January. I had been dealing for about a little over a month trying to secure Reverend C.T. Vivian. Finally, I did get a call from his agency, and his health will not permit him to be our speaker. He's 95 years old, but I guess his health is poor, to say the least. So he won't be able to be our speaker. The other speakers that I've been offered, the ranges for their fee are between $10,000 and $17,000. So of course, if we were to secure or to go this route, I would definitely try to negotiate it closer to the $10,000 mark.
Okay.
I have the names that we talked about were AC Green, former NFL player, publisher Ed Graves Jr. from Black Enterprise Magazine, Bobby Seale. I think he may be a little bit controversial, I don't know, for this area, but I think he has a wealth of information in terms of being involved in the civil rights movement and very active during the time Dr. King was active. And last but not least, they sent me Stedman Graham. He was kind of fourth on my list because I don't know what he particularly would bring, but those are the four that they've sent me so far. I'm actually beginning to work with another agency. But what I'm finding out is many of these people, they sort of cross-register with different speakers bureaus. Mm-hmm. So if we decide that we want to keep the cost of the speaker somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000, that's what I will work with. Or if we decide to do something different.
Yep. And one of the observations I've made in the past, Mr. Hurt, for other organizations is that, of course, they over different agencies. Mm-hmm. Different agencies will have like a much lower, as much as $5,000 lower speaker fee. I guess they're taking certain agencies take a bigger cut. So I can send you some agency information so far as the ones that, from my past experience, have a lower price versus. Okay.
Yes, please do. That'd be great.
I'm curious on with, I was noodling in my mind, mm-hmm. that with all of the momentum, I'm really loving the energy that I see from, I call them younger because they're younger than me. And I wish I had some of the energy that they had, that I see with the younger people that are, you hear their voices, they're marching and they won't stop. How do we find someone to galvanize them, to get them in? Because typically, even when we have this annual event, the attendance is of the older group of people. But now that we have this momentum, this shift of people whose voices that are speaking and won't stop speaking, which is wonderful. How do we get them?
I have actually thought about the same thing, and I've jotted down a couple of names. I don't have them in front of me, but the individuals I'm thinking of, they were very well spoken, very intelligent individuals. Again, considering the conservative nature of McLean County, I'm going to leave that totally up to the commissioners. These young people have a lot to say.
Thank you.
It may not, and everything they say may not always set well with the parochial palate in this area, but I think it's time that McLean County hears some of this stuff, honestly.
I'm just tossing it out there to the commissioners. Your thoughts?
I agree that the right individual that's more youthful probably has a better connecting point with the younger population in the community. So as Mr. Hurd mentioned, he has like kind of a hit list of names. So, to explore those and kind of like whatever shakes out, bring it down to his final evaluation so far as selection.
Okay, it's going to take some internet searching to locate contact information for these individuals, but that's going to
Chicago? Don't have anyone local?
No, the names that I wrote down, there was no one local, honestly. If you can suggest someone local, yes, I'll be glad to contact them.
I know.
There's Jamal Green out of Chicago. The McLean County Democrats had him here either earlier this, where are we? I think it was late last year, maybe early this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's local. I'm not sure how expensive he is.
What's his name again, Commissioner?
Jamal Green, J-A''MAL, last name Green, the traditional spelling.
Okay.
Mr. Hurd, based on, I'm not sure, I mean, if this might have been already thought of, based on all the COVID things going on, do we foresee a virtual event at all? Because we're still, based on the assumption, things might get better, but things are picking up and we hear all kind of stories based on the attendance and people being comfortable to a large gathering, which is not the way to go, not knowing how it's going to be the situation. Is there some thoughts being put into that of having a virtual event if we need to?
The way that Governor Pritzker's mandate reads is gatherings of 50 people, up to 50 people, or 50% of what the venue normally holds. So it would be up to us to control the number of tickets sold once we reach capacity. Also, in any language that I have for a speaker, I'm going to have the same force majeure clause that we have with the venue in case there is an act of God or something out of our control. We're not required to pay.
So as of now, we are thinking of an in-person event.
Yes.
No, my comment was, I know this is based on, again, on assumption. If things get worse, where there's if there's something an order is passed by the governor saying no in-person gatherings are allowed.
Mm-hmm. Then we simply cancel. We simply cancel.
So we just cancel and not plan on a virtual event?
Yeah, we be no different than a lot larger entities, sports entities, annual gatherings that such as marathons. huge events that have to be canceled based on what COVID-19 is doing. We'd be no different.
So we cancel and do not honor youth and an adult. So we totally cancel the soliciting of applications and selections, because that we can do even not having the meeting, right? Like a gathering.
And that's the planning that I leave up to the commission. If you want, as an alternative, some sort of virtual presentation where the awards can still be given and the speaker can still be heard, then that's a consideration. That
I
the
think we should
commission
put a thought, at least, in worst case scenario, instead of totally, not having the event or any kind of, awards presentation.
I'm sorry, I didn't really get that, Commissioner Suresh. You're kind of going in and out.
No, what I was saying is, at least it might be good to put a thought and have that option back of our mind, the worst case situation, to have a virtual event and honor and provide the award as we do virtually.
Okay.
Instead of totally not having an event at all. But there's some aspects of it we can do virtually to continue with the tradition.
Okay. That'll have to be put to a vote by the commission because it is an addition or a deviation from what we've traditionally done. So in order to change to a virtual atmosphere, that's something the commissioners need to agree on and vote on. And
no, but in case, do we need to vote on now, or that was just a thought, Mr. Hurd? In case we are planning we want to go that route, do we want to take a vote at that point of time when we are more or less going to go that route?
no, we need to do it now so that I can make the arrangements for the backup plan. I prefer to do it now.
Chair Smith, there's a lot of background noise from your mic. Could you mute if you're not talking, please? Thank you.
Sorry about that. I'm moving my thing around. Okay.
I just want to know the thoughts of other commissioners before we think of a motion. What do other commissioners think of my suggestion?
This is Commissioner Jones. Just as a contingency plan, I think it's something to be prepared for.
In the event we have to cancel, I think it would be appropriate to continue with the solicitation of nominations for the awards. Those can be handled virtually, and we can process the applications and the essays or whatever it is, whatever the criteria we're going to use to select a person. I do not think we should incur the expense of a speaker who might pre-record, for example, their speech, and then we would broadcast that out. I think we would want to continue to honor those young people and those hard workers in our community without incurring all the additional expense of having a speaker.
I think in case we, if that's going to be an option, I think we need to work out all the logistics, which is one of the logistics is what you just mentioned, Commissioner Ajay. So, yeah, more or less looks like, to have a contingency plan, it would be better, Mr. Hurd.
I agree.
As I'm going to move then that we adopt a contingency plan should COVID require the cancellation of an in-person event, that our contingency plan be to honor recipients as we have done in the past, and that be the extent of the event.
Is there a motion? Okay,
That is a motion.
I second it.
Is there any additional discussion on that motion? If not, I will call for the question. So it's been properly moved that we adopt a contingency plan that if the event needs to be adjusted due to COVID, that we move forward with awarding the recipients that have been selected and not have a speaker. Commissioner Krishna,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Jai,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith, aye. Mr. Hurt? There's vote.
Okay. All in favor, motion passes.
Yep. We will go on to agenda item number 6, new business, the business director proposal from Ms. Denise Moore.
Yes, I forwarded all the commissioners Ms. Moore's proposal. She is creating a database, a regional database of minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, disenfranchised businesses, et cetera. The difference in what we're doing and what she's providing is that she's cast a wider net. No, maybe that's not even really the case. I mean, they're specifically casting a wider net to target several different states. The purpose of which is to provide minority and female-owned businesses for work with the city of Peoria. She has a dedicated staff member who will maintain the website, who will also do the annual follow-up with all of the registered individuals to see if they're still in business and if all of the information is still current. For this offering, she's requesting an annual fee of $3,500. Personally, I didn't see the value in it for that much money. We could do the same thing, honestly, using Commissioner Jones's website. We're not limited in where we cast the net. We can send out letters asking, trying to drive people to that website who may be small business owners, minority female business owners. There's a process that we can create our own.
Yep. And I guess our objective for you is to identify minorities beyond the community for contractors and vendors and things of that nature.
Yes.
Okay.
Specifically, yes. Contractors to work on our city-funded construction projects. Also, engineering firms, law firms, because we always, well, not always, but very often we contract these jobs out, and it's usually the same local individuals who get all these jobs. I did receive a call from a female-owned minority engineering firm. That was the person who had contacted us. So I sent her the link to the website. So I hope that she does apply. As I said, for engineering in particular, we do several $100,000 a year contracting that out.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see a value so far as an investment of that amount of money. And then another factor is that locally in our community, we wouldn't be benefiting business people because we have, at the present time, we haven't identified any minority contractors in Bloomington Normal. So we would be, spending money to provide a service for a population that at the present time doesn't exist in our community.
True. But what I have noticed is that we get prime contractors, majority prime contractors from all over the place who bid for work with the city. They're not necessarily local or regional, but they have a crew that they could provide to get the work done. So I want to provide that same opportunity to minority and female contractors, no matter where they are. I think they deserve that same opportunity.
Yeah. So I guess, my final statement is I think that's kind of an excessive amount of funding for the Peoria as offered.
Yeah, and from my conversation with her, we would be the guinea pig because no other municipality right now is doing business with them in that capacity.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so we would be the first. And I think she just threw a number out there and just to see if it would stick. But like I said, $3,500 annually for what they're offering, I don't see the value in it.
I would agree with all that's been said so far. And my concern is one that I raised earlier, which is I don't see any verification of the status of the companies in this offering. So is there a certification requirement? I don't see that here. And I do think that the amount of money is excessive. I would hope that if they go ahead with this effort and we go ahead with ours, that we would be willing on both sides to provide a link to each other's offering, on our offering, on the individual offerings, so that people could come to the Bloomington Human Relations site and access this one in Peoria. And similarly, those in Peoria would see a link to ours and they could access ours.
I agree. Well, that's all I had on that. And it seems to be the consensus that our money is better spent on other things.
Okay. So thanks for sharing that information. We will move on to the BHRC Youth Commissioner.
When I approached the mayor with our proposal, probably back in April, the response I got was, yes, this is a great idea. So I didn't know if that was his seal of approval. I'm taking it as such. And I say that because his staff is aware of the proposal. They were all copied on his response. So until I'm told something different, I think we should proceed with it.
Thoughts from the commissioners?
One question I have is, what age range are we thinking? High school, college?
I think in our proposal, the age range was 17 through 22, something like that. So we're looking seniors in high school and college age people.
That was the age range, yes.
That was my only question.
Yeah, the point of one of the points that one of the things we hope to accomplish when we first spoke of this was to get young people interested in civic government. So if we catch them too young, they wouldn't be voting age and they wouldn't be able to add very much to the commission. Right. So hopefully that age group, we can get them interested in create some participation in civic government from that group.
Right.
do we have the list of the criteria? Like the age is one, and is there anything else? What else are we looking for?
Yes, I sent that to the commissioners a
Yeah.
while ago.
Oh, probably I missed it. If you don't mind, can you send it to me again, Mr. Hurd?
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all I had on the youth commissioner, unless someone has questions.
So, in order to move forward with this, we have the support of the mayor, we would need a motion to move forward with it.
I make a motion that we move forward with the task of securing a youth commissioner.
I second it.
Is there any additional discussion on this? If not, I'll call for the vote on this. It's been properly moved that we move forward with our proposal to implement a youth commissioner.
So one question, I'm not sure if that was in the information sent. So is it going to be the same process? We share this information in the community, and who's any youth who's interested will apply, and mayor's office will make.
No, the commissioners will make the decision.
No,
Oh.
this one, commission, Commissioner Krishna.
Okay. So, but still, we will be soliciting applications like.
Yes, solicitations will go out to the high schools, universities, and youth groups in the area.
So high schools, they're not in that age limit, right?
The high schools are what now?
Will high school be in that age limit?
Yes.
17.
Like 11th grade, 12th grade?
More than likely, it'll probably be, 11th and 12th graders, 17 and 18-year-olds. If that was the only question, Commissioner Smith?
Okay.
Mhm.
I will call for the vote then. Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Ajay,
Aye.
Commissioner Krishna,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith, aye. Mr. Hurt, the motion passes. And then we have item 6C, discussion on defunding the police.
And let me clarify what I meant by that. Now that I see it, this is very poorly worded. We talked about the commission providing a space for the community to have a discussion about defunding the police.
So on that note, I have had discussions separately with Mayor Coos in Normal, and he is open to having this discussion. I would like to recommend that we approach the following individuals and invite them to a roundtable discussion. They would include the mayor of Normal, or the mayor of Bloomington, in addition to the mayor of Normal, and the heads of all of the police departments, so ISU, Normal, Bloomington PD, and the state police, and county sheriff. So those 5 folks. The NAACP, Not in Our Town, and Black Lives Matter. If there are any others that folks think should be brought to the table, I'm happy to add to that list. But I think we need to get these invitations out, and let's see if folks are willing to sit down and talk.
I would also supplement your list to consider the 100 Black men.
There may be some churches that would like to be involved. Reverend Black from Wayman, someone from Pisgah, Pastor Bennett from
City of Red.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So it was Mayors Coos, Renner, the police departments, the heads of the police department, chiefs of the police departments from Bloomington, Normal, the sheriff, ISU,
And the state and the county.
state and county, NAACP, Not in Our Town, Black Lives Matter, 100 Black Men, some churches such as Wayman, City of Refuge, Mount Pisgah. So any other organizations?
Not any other organizations that I was suggesting. I just had a question so far as facilitation or mediation. What's the plan? What's the thoughts in regards to that approach of who would or how would it be facilitated? The discussions.
I leave those sort of operational details to the esteemed Mr. Hurt to figure out.
My suggestion would be that we hire a facilitator. We don't want to give the appearance that we are promoting defunding the police department. We're providing a space for the community to express their views and opinions.
So when you say providing the space,
Mm-hmm.
that space would be?
For a crowd this size,
Yes.
The Osborne room in the police department may work.
And so let me back up some. Commissioner Ajay, what time frame are you wanting to pin this down for? Because
I think
would it be virtual?
Oh,
that's a good point.
forgot about that.
I was thinking within the next 2 months at the outside to give us time to
Okay.
contact people and try to arrange mutually acceptable dates.
Okay.
Alternatively, we could structure it as smaller working groups. So I would like to see everybody at the table having a discussion. I'm not sure how fruitful that would be. And we can talk a little more about the format, whether we're going to have 10 questions that each participating group would have and submit answers, and then we can have discussion based on those, or if we want to have smaller groups, community groups versus police versus municipalities to sit and talk among themselves before we have a larger meeting. I mean, we can talk about the mechanics of it.
Okay.
We had a meeting with the city manager. He met with some of the employees from the city and from the library, some of the minority employees. We had about 30 people in the room. We met over at the BCPA. In their ballroom, we set the chairs up in a big circle, and it was great for a discussion. We social distance, we wore masks. So, well, some of us, but the social distancing was adhered to. So I think it was a good space. If we, want to go that route and limit the number to 50, I think this still could happen in person.
I like that suggestion, Mr. Hurd, much more than the Osborne room.
All right, we'll work on the ballroom. Yeah, and the availability of the space shouldn't be a problem since nothing's being held there right now.
What's the capacity of it, did you say?
The capacity of the ballroom is, I think it's like 600 people.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Just was trying to see what the 50%.
I don't know that is a vote necessary at this point, since we're still trying to figure.
No, I
Some
don't think so.
logistics?
Let's work out the logistics first to make sure that we can get all of this in place, and then we'll have something to vote on. Secure the venue and make sure we have interest from these particular groups.
Or would you reach out to them to tell them we're planning this and ask them if they'd be interested in participating?
Exactly.
Awesome, thank you.
So Mr. Hurt will determine the interest of the,
Yes.
okay,
And once I get those, I will forward them to the commissioners so you can keep up with who has responded in the affirmative. And once you think we have enough individuals who have responded affirmatively, we can go ahead and set a date and set a vote.
okay. So secure the venue and then determine interest from said groups or the leads or heads of said groups.
Yes.
Okay. And as well as you will be thinking of a facilitator to hire.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else on that topic? I'm guessing that potentially maybe that will come back around in August is the training. I was thinking that that would be coming back around in August for a vote, or
Where we
quickly this moves forward.
hopefully before the end of the month, I have the responses that I need. And then we can determine if we have enough interest to go ahead and move forward. So I will send them to you as soon as I get them back. The responses back, I'll send them on to the commissioners. And we can
Okay.
say, hey, let's pull the trigger on this. We got enough.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Everyone comfortable with that?
Sounds
Yes.
good.
Okay. Then agenda item number 7 is that our next meeting is August 12th. Be present for the training. Remind your fellow commissioners, give a gentle nudge. Any update from our newest commissioner, Mr. Hurt?
No, I have reached out to her on a couple of occasions. She did call back. Our last conversation was that she lives in an assisted living facility. She is visually impaired. She is not computer literate at all. And she relies on the staff at the facility to assist her. So far, the staff, no one has contacted me. My understanding is the city clerk has the same issues with no contact from her. They had to make some special arrangement to even get her sworn in. So I'm really not sure how to proceed. I have talked to the individual at LifeSeal who put her name forward for the mayor's consideration to ask for LifeSeal's help in getting her up to speed with the requirements of the commission. And the last contact I had with them was maybe 10 days ago that they were working on it. And that's the last I've heard from them.
Okay. It would be great to have them engaged before the training. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do all I can to contact them, and maybe I'll just call the facility directly myself and see if they can get her set up at a computer or something so that she can be part of the training.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that update.
Mhm.
Then we are at the last item on the agenda, commissioners. Time for the adjournment.
Commissioners, Chair Smith, you normally go around and ask us if there are any last thoughts or comments.
Well, you know, we were running a little long and I thought, well, did everyone get theirs out? Any hot topics, anything commissioners would like to share before we adjourn the meeting?
None.
None for me.
Commissioner?
So as not to disappoint you, Chair Smith, I do have one.
Oh, thank you. See?
Um,
Commissioner Krishna, you were about to say something. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No. I said none from me.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Commissioner Jai, don't disappoint.
Mr. Hurd had shared with us, did we just lose Commissioner Jones? Anyway, Mr. Hurd shared with us the draft compliance document for the minority business enterprise that we've been talking about for quite a while here. And I wanted to thank staff, number one, for putting it all together. And I had two very quick comments that I would like to share on that document.
Sure.
The first is that while we talk about access to relevant books, records, and accounts, I think we should be explicit about some level of oversight of certified payroll documents.
Mhm.
And the second is that we need some language in there about the certification that we're going to require, whether it's going to be a form or whatever that's going to be. So those are my three comments. One is job very well done. Two, certified payroll discussion. Three, certification discussion.
Okay. The certified payrolls are going online, and I have access to all those. So I will always be, even without having to go out to all the job sites, I'll have access to who is out there at any given time working, and whether or not the contractor is in compliance or even trying to comply with what we have set out in the new ordinance. Also, yes, I'm going to work on that certification process to spell it out exactly what we will require in our vetting process.
Very
So
good.
I will expand that to include that language.
Awesome. I knew you'd be on it, but thank you very much.
So, Mr. Hurt, when you said certified payroll will be online,
Mm-hmm.
Online as in?
Yeah, the state is putting it online because they require it. The law escapes me right now.
That's
It is a statute, but they have been talking about this for a number of years in order to avoid all this paper that I usually get from the contractors. The contractors send the certified payroll reports in paper format to all of the individuals who have hired them, whether it be Public Works or the BCPA. They then email that to me. So what I've asked them to do in, excuse me, in a new ordinance, first of all, is to eliminate the middleman. Contractors will send those directly to me. But since the governor started in the last 2 weeks saying that it's going to be put on the website, either way I get them is going to be fine. Once I have access to the website and I'm satisfied that I can retrieve all of those certified payroll reports, then I will no longer require the contractors to send me directly those certified payroll reports.
Okay. So how many minority contractors do we have engaged with the city now?
None.
When's the last time we had engagement with a minority contractor?
I've been here 2 years. I haven't seen one.
Okay. What about female?
We do have one female contractor that I'm aware of. She's an electrical contractor. And I looked at our city inspectors sent me a list of all of the projects that they looked at or inspected in the last 12 months. And I do see her listed on a couple of projects. So she obviously was awarded a contract for those two.
Is that a minority?
No, no,
Okay.
she's a white female. That
Okay.
is, and
Just
she's the only
curious.
one really that I'm aware of.
Okay, okay. Okay,
Yeah, so those are the businesses that hopefully will respond to our solicitation. Because right now, if you want someplace to eat or get your hair done, we have a plethora of those places. But we really need to, get some of these businesses in where the meat and potatoes of what we put out in terms of city-funded projects can be awarded
Yeah.
more equity to some of these individuals.
do you know, just right off the top, how much money is awarded across the top to contractors annually?
I can take a look at what's happened in the last 12 months, but I will
Yeah.
tell you, I've seen one contract that was over $2 million.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah, so it's millions of dollars. I would go so far as to say probably tens of millions. We have so many of these that are being awarded.
Okie dokie. Okie dokie. All right, that's that question. And any complaints filed that you're currently working on?
Oh, wow. It seems COVID-19 has
Blame
brought
Commissioner
out,
Jack.
brought some ugliness in people. There was a young man who was he worked for the county, and I think his job was their public relations person. Apparently, he's been terminated, but before his termination, he sent a very lengthy letter to all of the county board members, to his superiors, to the Journal-Star newspaper, to the EEOC, and to the Illinois Department of Human Rights. He also filled out he contacted me, and this was before I knew he had done any of this. He contacted me, I directed him to our website. He completed the application, but once I saw that he had gone outside the bounds of what we can cover, because our ordinance specifically states that if someone has secured the services of an outside enforcement agency like the Illinois Department of Human Rights or the EEOC, then we're no longer involved. So I had to tell him that. I gave him some direction on individuals that he could contact directly, contacts that I still had at the IDHR. So I'm sure he'll be taken care of in terms of it'll be properly investigated. If there is any merit to his complaint, the Illinois Department of Human Rights, in conjunction with the EEOC, because it's a dual filing. Once you file at the Illinois Department of Human Rights, it's also filed with the EEOC. He will obtain whatever justice is due him if there is merit to his case. The young man who put out the Black Lives Matter banner on his balcony, he had conversation with someone in my office. He was told to contact me, directed to the website, but I never heard from him. There's another young lady, and it's a housing complaint. She is not being afforded the same enjoyment of her rented apartment as non-minority individuals, in that she was being penalized for having, I think it was her nephews over. They came to visit her for a couple of weeks in the summer. And right across the hall, there was a white resident who also had relatives visiting her for the summer. In fact, these kids were all playing together. And that's what drew the attention of this particular manager, who approached the Black female and told her that she could not have these children on the premises. I reached out to the property manager of record and found out that the property has been sold to another LLC in the interim. The woman from the new LLC contacted me and gave me the contact information for the former owner. My understanding is the property manager, the white female who had prohibited this young woman from having her nephews on site has been terminated. But for me, that doesn't make an end to the complaint. But the action was still taken against this woman, and she has every right to pursue it if it's a valid complaint. So that's what I'm working on now. I've sent the letter to the respondent letter to the former owners, giving them 14 days to respond to the allegation.
Okay. Okay, yeah, you've had several contacts, huh?
Yeah, I anticipate a lot more once the eviction moratorium is lifted at the end of the month. I can foresee that those evictions won't be applied with any equity in all cases. So we'll see what comes out of that.
Okay. Okay, we'll stay tuned for that. Okay. Now we're at the time for the last item on the agenda, the adjournment.
I move that we adjourn at 6:27 PM.
A second.
Is there any discussion? If not, I will call for the question, all in consensus. Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Krishna,
Aye.
Commissioner Jai,
Aye.
and Commissioner Smith, aye. Mr. Hurt, the motion has passed and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you all.
Have a good evening.
Take care.
Bye-bye.